Okay, so for some reason my Snagit on my other computer is broken, so I'm doing it on my Mac, so it's going to look a little different. But I was going to do a quick little video on a net sheet. I'm using only the ZipForm Plus New just because that's the one that a lot of agents are going to be forced to use down the road. So that's where I'm doing all these. But I was just going to show you how I do a net sheet. Every realtor does a net sheet different. But this is why I do it, and it works pretty accurately depending on how much time you spend on it. So I'm just going to open up a transaction. That's the first thing you got to do. In my listing template, I've got net sheet in there, so it always populates. So if I go to documents, that form is going to be in there. There it is, seller's estimated net proceeds. It's TAR 1935. So this form will load. I'm going to go ahead and erase, like I do not use anticipated closing date. I don't use the property taxes or the maintenance fees or any of the type of conventional loan buttons because it'll populate a bunch of stuff that I just don't like populated. So as you can see, this one's kind of filled out some of it, but I'm going to go through each of the blanks. So the first thing I put in is the sales price. So on this particular property, it's $139,900. What I use for this attorney/doc prep is I use a number of $500. What this is it's several fees all grouped together that are in this list, but it's easier to just, give one big number. The title company charges a couple $100 for closing. The county charges 10, the recording's 75 or 80, the state charges 5. So I just kind of group that all at $500. Miscellaneous is what I call it. Most people are fine with that. Obviously, the commission's here. If you had a lower commission, you could put in a 5 or a 4.5 or something like that. If for some reason you're using a flat fee commission, like $3,000, say, you would erase this amount and you could just type in $3,000 down here and put RE commission, and it'll subtract. As you go down, if a home warranty is requested in the contract, you're going to put whatever that amount is. So most cases, $500 or so. If there needs to be a survey done, that up front. You could put it in a 550. Surveys are anywhere from 500 to 550 on most residential properties. The title policy, you have to figure that, and I'll show you how in just a second. And then on these bottom lines would be additional expenses. So if the buyer's asking the seller for $5,000 closing, you write in the amount right here, and it'll subtract it from their net. If you want to go ahead and figure taxes on the closing, you could put in taxes. And if you want to, take their total taxes of $5,000 and divide it by 12 for 12 months in a year, and then multiply it by the amount of months they have lived there that year, you could put in 3,200 or whatever that comes out to. That's probably a whole nother video, is estimating taxes. A lot of times people have their taxes in their escrow account and it'll be a wash, but a lot of times it'll get taken out at closing and then they get it back after they get their sale finished and their escrow account is distributed back to them. And we took the commission and put it down here. If we had the 6% up here, it would be the same thing. I'm going to delete these. So we have our $139,900. Their total cost to close the property are $19,240. Say they know they owe $100,000 on the house, so they're going to walk away with $20,000 and $600. That's pretty darn close. It's not going to be to the penny, but it's close. This title policy, I've obviously got that figured most likely at $139,900. If that price was $135,000, say, I would have to refigure that title policy amount. If you go to page 2 and 3 of here's the title policy premium rates for anything under $100,000. So if it's $85,000, you just go to the $85,000 and it's $770 for the title policy. Type that number in. If it's over $100,000 and less than $1 million, here is the formula. Anything, so you take the the price of the house, say 135. You subtract $100,000, so that's 35,000. You multiply 35,000 times 0.00554, and then you add $875, and that's the amount. So for 135,000, let me see if I can figure this. My calculator's in a different spot on this computer. I'm going to take my 135,000. I'm going to subtract 100,000. I'm going to get 35,000. Then I'm going to multiply that times 0.00554. And then I'm going to add 875. 1068.9. I would just call that 1069. So then I go back to my page 1 and put in the new number. There it is. If you're given like a couple scenarios to people, you could make it 135.9, print it out, and then change the price and print them one at 140 and give them several examples of what they would make. I know David Aycock has a spreadsheet to do this that's really nice too. I've just always used this one, and this is kind of how I use it. So do some practices on these, like, just pull a house up in MLS that's sold and figure out the net proceeds. And if you want to work on those taxes, work on prorated taxes, and then send it over and I'll double check it compared to mine. And, if you can get to be able to do this properly, then you'll always feel more comfortable with a seller telling them what they're going to make on their house. I've gotten to where, if I'm sitting in front of someone and I don't have my computer or this form in front of me, I know I remembered these, whatever I need on the left, and I'll figure it in front of them. I'll write down miscellaneous, real estate fee, title policy, home warranty, closing costs, and I'll figure all those on paper and subtract it off the sales price and use that title policy formula because it's in my head and figure their net anywhere in the world. Another thing I like to do is if this was a 6% commission and no closing costs are involved, I like to use the quick formula of sales price times 0.925. That gives them a net roughly of a 6% real estate fee and 1.5 additional fees, which covers usually miscellaneous, home warranty, and maybe survey. So just for a test, we'll do it right here. Bring my calculator back up. So we'll take 135,900 times 0.925 equals 125,707. I'm going to erase this. So I said that they're walking with that amount, so that's 125,1 down here. So it's pretty close. If I didn't have this survey on here, which most people have surveys, it would have been just about right on. So I use that number, and like my dad used to always use, multiply it times 0.92 for 8%. So if they asked for closing cost, you would just subtract 5,000 from that. So they're walking with 12707. Type in those closing costs, 12677. So that's a quick way to do it, but it's always good to figure it this way in front of people, especially. So do some practicing on that, and we'll go from there. Thank you.